I am very excited to introduce you all to Danielea Castell, who I had the good fortune to meet a year ago at World Unity Week on Zoom, where she was hosting the listening field. And I remember being so excited when she called on me to introduce my tree elder to the circle. And I just love the reverence she has for the nature elders. And it's given me a voice to speak what I didn't know I didn't know I didn't have words to say. Doing these consultations with the nature elders, the tree, rock, and water, um, has just been astounding and deepened my relationship with nature in a way that's been really profound. I've been working with her on Zoom for the past year, and we are going to have her visit Nova Scotia in 2 weeks. So I'm super excited you all are here, and I hope we'll get together in person soon as well. Thank you for coming. And I turn it over to Danielea.
Thank you so much, Tree Child. It's been a real honor in the past couple of years through the listening field to meet so many other people who feel the same way that I do about our nature relatives and our nature elders. And so it really has been one of the gifts of lockdown and going online is to be able to broaden our community. So I'd like to start today by offering a bit of sound, sacred sound. This chant that I'm about to sing is, it's called, the lyrics are in Sanskrit. So we acknowledge this traditional language of the Hindu people. And the lyrics are Om Satyam, which means supreme truth. Om Sundara, Om Shivayam, which is invoking supreme beneficence or generosity of heart. And then Om Sundaram, invoking supreme beauty. So again, just understanding that these are universal qualities and not belonging to anyone in particular, and yet are sitting in that vibrational space of unity and harmony with each other. This particular melody is mine. It just is some of the ways that spirit speaks to me, is that it brings, when I'm in connection with nature elders, as well as with spirit, I receive music and sound. I was just hoping you could see my harmonium, but I think that I might not be able to. But if you're not familiar, it's a bellows instrument. Oh, you can see a little bit of it with the keyboard. Maybe I'll come back. Here we go. So just invite you to close your eyes. And for me, the reason I chose to sing this is because, whoops, I'm going to add original sound. There we go. It's because I believe that all of us are learning how to understand the real truth of our own nature, our divine nature and our human nature. And I also have come to understand that our nature elders and our relatives are here to help reflect this part of ourselves, reflect our wholeness, reflect our divinity. So I just like to open our time together with acknowledging these universal truths of who we are, who they are, and what we can create together. Sorry, I'm just listening here. Here we go. So, in our time together today, I just want to share a tiny bit about what's brought me here to this point, a little bit about the genesis of the listening field and the work that it's doing in the world today, and a bit about the vision and the scope of this sacred listening journey that Tree Child and I are bringing to you in Nova Scotia. And then the last part, I want to open up and have some time for us to have a sharing circle with each other and learn a little bit about who we are. This is our beautiful graphic and our symbol for our time together. I wanted to start with this slide because I was born as a telepath, empath, incarnator, and maybe like some of you, really couldn't find where I belonged in the world. And in my life, when I look back, I see that I get questions to carry, and then I live and discover the answers. And one of the questions I carried at one point was, if I'm not Cinderella, who am I? And I'm really grateful that I was fortunate enough to receive a direct message and initiation from a group of Sitka spruce trees up in Haida Gwaii, the sacred islands of Haida Gwaii, who finally at the age of 50 told me who I am, that I am here to be an interbeing ambassador. And from that moment, I really recognized that and declared publicly that my original wiring and heart bonds are actually with Mother Earth first, and her kin, and then with my human relatives. And so from that point forward, I really dedicated my life to learning how to develop the gifts that I had been given, and of course to discover the purpose that I had been given them. So I think that the important thing for you to know about me is that when I enter a place with the intention of an encounter with my nature relatives or elders, it's like entering a holy place. It's a place of remembering. It's a place where we can play and share our creativity. It's a consultation chamber. It's a place where we can ask these questions that matter to us personally or are mattering to our community, and we can receive their wisdom. It's also a place of celebration and honoring, a place of tending. And so my outcome is, my commitment on my earth is that when I leave a place, whether I've been there for a short time or a long time, that the nature elders and the relatives there, they feel heard, they feel seen, they feel known, they feel cherished, they feel tended. If there's some tending to do, some picking up of garbage, or in some way we can, assist that they can't assist themselves, and they feel celebrated. And so this is probably the most important thing to know about me. One of the other things that's a big part of my way of relating to spirit, as well as communicating with my nature elders and relatives, is to sound, whether it be long tones and chant, or a style that I call sound weaving, which is really just singing from our hearts and listening and offering from that place. And so this will be a big part of our time in the forest, not only the deep listening to the nature elders, but also the offering back. So the receiving and the reciprocity, those weave inexplicably together. And of course, one of the greatest gifts we can bring is the gift of our voice and our creativity. I do have a particular melody that's called Om Tare Tree. It was actually given to me by a grove of Douglas fir trees. And there's a lovely story that goes with that. And this melody, it's been recorded, it's in an 8-minute version, is one of the known melodies that we will sing back. And of course, those who participate are welcome to bring the songs and sounds that they have, because we'll be co-creating this part of our work together. So I want to speak just briefly about the listening field. The listening field is one of the gifts of COVID and lockdown. So for the previous 13 years prior to 2020, I had been in apprenticeship in person with water, rock, and tree elders around the world. So 4 years with trees, 8 years with water, and then had begun to work with all of them when COVID hit. And what I soon discovered is that based on the relationships that I had built with all these elders over the years, I could open up a ceremonial space, invite them to come, and they would come. And so here I was able to have a very low footprint. I didn't have to get on an airplane. We could actually continue our apprenticeship, continue our work together without actually having to move around the planet. And so, of course, I soon learned that everybody can do it. And the key is that our love that we have for a particular tree, a body of water, a mountain, a rock, a boulder, a region, that love creates a bond. And when we call to them, they come because they love us too. So essentially, we're in the process right now of branding the listening field and building a website. We've been super active for the past 3 years. Last year was 37 listening fields. We've got over 100 beautiful postcards from the listening field that carry these wisdom messages. We've got videos, etc. And we're just, as I said, in the process of building a website itself. But for the purposes of our time, this is what the definition of the listening field is. This ceremonial space that enables us to dialogue directly in personal, intimate ways on important issues that affect us all. Of course, everyone can dialogue directly with a nature elder, but what seems to happen is when we do it in a group field, it enhances everybody's intuitive and telepathic abilities. Now, I will say that doing the listening field online, which is what we did for 3 years, is quite different. It's where we call the field into us. Whereas when we do the listening field on land, and I've been doing them here in British Columbia, we're in essence stepping into a field that already exists. And of course, we have many more possibilities for co-creating together when we're on land. And so as you can see, this is just a short history of the emergence of the listening field. And more, I wanted to put this in here to say to you that the 4 qualities of the listening field are that it's open, emergent, responsive, and evolving. And as the host, and the gatekeeper for this particular experience, those are very, very, very sacred principles. And so it continues to evolve and adapt according to the call that is heard in the field or with some of the, or by from one of the elders. So this, I'm sure you're already familiar. You might have your own terminology. Nature elders is a term that came to me in 2020 when I began to speak to other humans about this journey that I'd been on with these nature elders around the world, and realized that we didn't have the need to have names for each other, but as in human conversation, we needed to have those. And so I know I'm speaking to those who already understand that these relatives are literally standing by, waiting for us to invite them in. And then the last thing, in all of my writing, I always capitalize the names of tree and water and plant and rock and nature and Mother Earth, etc. And that's just my way of showing respect. And it is also to show the same respect that we show for each other. We capitalize our names, so let us capitalize theirs as well. So there's 6 steps in that listening field experience that we sort of identified as it's gone through this co-creative development. And I will tell you that we're up over 1,000 people and nature elders now who have participated in listening fields over the past 3 years. And it's a field that has been developed together. And so this is what we are now understanding is a part of the whole process. So it begins by hearing the call. And I heard a call earlier this year to come to Nova Scotia to bring the listening field so that we can hear what the nature elders of Nova Scotia have to say. And when I hear that call, I answer it. And so Tree Child had been inviting me, and then I heard that the answer call, and so now we have this experience happening August 12th to the 20th. Preparation and consent is the next step, and we have opened a field with the nature elders that we are proposing to sit with, and so far all of them have come forward in consent and agreement and are very welcoming for us to come. The only one we're unsure of yet is who our river elder is going to be. We're not sure. We were looking at Le Havre, but when I reached out and connected, there wasn't a great deal of response. It could be that the location we were imagining is not the right one, or it might be another river elder. So as you can see, we really go from this place of listening, and it's consent from the elders before we bring a group of people to engage with them. And of course, the listening field sessions are really what these 5 core ceremonies are that are part of this week from the 12th until the 20th of August. And then documenting the messages is really important. You heard me mention this postcard idea as part of my personal mission. So one is to provide a platform where the nature elders can speak, and we're going to listen. The second part of it in my agreement and mission is to circulate the wisdom of the nature elders. So the messages that come from all of these different listening fields, I curate them into a very distilled message and then put them on this beautiful photograph. And that makes it easy for those messages to be shared. When we're working with an organization, a business, an NGO, or an ad hoc group, as we're starting to do, the documenting the messages becomes important because they've usually asked for a listening field for a very particular reason. There's a problem they want to solve. They want to have a new relationship with the nature elders involved in their business or their products. And so, capturing what the elders have said through the people who have heard it is super important. The next becomes interpreting the meaning. Often an elder can speak very much like an indigenous elder, where they speak in parable, they speak in sometimes guidance that sounds like a Zen koan, and you have to unpack it for yourself to discover what that meaning is. And then the next is develop and integrate strategy, which is how does this apply to my life or my work, and how can I bring that into action? And so this is really the cycle. And this has been, as I shared, learned over time that it's not just enough to provide the platform. It's not enough to just gather the wisdom, right? It needs to be shared. It's not just to share the wisdom, but it's to put that wisdom into action and to bring that wisdom into this new world that we're creating together. So just to turn now to the journey itself that we're making together, I really love this quote from Sharon Blackie, who wrote the book If Women Rose Rooted. And she wrote about the fact that a fundamental aspect of a woman's journey through life today requires us to understand the nature and depth of our entanglement in and responsibilities to the web of life on this planet. And so this sacred listening journey that we're talking about right now, I really see it as an opportunity to investigate the depth of our entanglement and our responsibilities to the web of life through a series of encounters with the nature elders in their homes and on their community ground. So what are we doing? We're providing a listening for whatever it is the nature elders and the relatives wish to say to us. I use the term nature elders, but it's meant to be inclusive. I am speaking to the elders of the species, but that term could also, it could be a young grove of trees, but there is an elder tree there who is the leader or the spokesperson for them. So again, it's just take my language loosely or translate it into your own vernacular. The other thing that also is part of this journey is that when we come into heart link with these elders, healing happens without even needing to put names or words on it. Just, they help us recalibrate to that frequency of life. And then, of course, anytime we're doing listenings, we may have a group question that everybody is asking of either the one elder, if we're listening to one elder, or is asking of the elder that they're listening to. So there's a group question and you're writing down the answers that you receive, but you always have time, of course, to ask personal questions about things that are going in your life and receiving guidance and suggestions from them as well. Everything that I do and we do in the listening field is co-creative. So I am the guide on this journey, but I am partnering with Tree Child, and we will be partnering together when we're in these spaces. And so I'm really inviting everyone who becomes part of this, whether it's for a single event or multiple events or all of it, to bring your own gifts forward in service to the good of the whole. And that means, you get a little nudge going, to mention this, or, this song would be good to sing, or something like that. And you feel your permission to speak up and to bring your gifts forward, because it's together with all of our diversity and our beautiful rainbow of offerings that we're really restoring the sacred web of connection with life. We are going to, as you say, co-create beauty, chant, dance, prayers, and other gratitude offerings. So again, that's the turnaround that happens from the deep listening is the giving back and the offering back. And then, of course, this other opportunity to just really surrender control and engage with all of life and with each other and the elders, just through listening and love, through intuition and trust. So this is just a snapshot really of the journey itself, the whole journey. It starts today with us, meet and greet. There'll be another opportunity to meet us again if you choose, and for others who weren't able to make it today, it's in person in Halifax at Teresa Thomas's house. So that's that 7 to 8 p.m. ADT. And if you don't know Teresa's address, just email Tree Child and she will share that with anyone who wishes to join us. And then we'll just go over to the right. To the core of the listening journey is these 5 listening field ceremonies. And so you can see that at each of them, there's opportunities to deepen into your communication and relationship with different elders. I don't know if you're familiar at all with communicating with rock elders or mountain, but these relatives are profound. I had an opportunity to do so last year with the bedrock elders. These are the ones who are part of the mantle of Mother Earth. And this was through an inspiration I was received when war broke out in the Ukraine. I was in a deep listening experience and was guided to go deeper into the earth, and discovered the bedrock elders and how much we could sound energy in through the bedrock and ask that it come up, through the Ukraine and through Russia. So each of these, whether it's rock, tree, water, and water, it's very different. Mother Ocean is very different from our lake elders or from our river elders. And the trees, as many of you know, in Fleming Park, I haven't met them yet, but they're hemlock. Right, so they're a very particular species. Of course, they all have their unique character, spirit, and voice. And then when we're at Liza's in Sherbrooke Lake on the Sunday, the 20th, it's the oak. It's the oak tree elders that we're going to be with for most of the day. So being able to see who the elders are, where the location is, can also help you determine who would you like to deepen your communication with, or how would you like to explore your relationship. Maybe it's with a new elder. Maybe you want to go deeper with another elder. And of course, this information is available on Honor the Earth at wordpress.com. So that's all that I want to say at the moment about myself, the listening field, and our journey. I'm going to come back into gallery, but I wanted to show you this slide because I'm assuming that everybody here has a vision for a new earth. You've probably been living and working towards it already for years. And in our sharing, what I wanted to invite you to do is to share with us, who you are and where you are on Mother Earth. And if there's a piece of your vision that really excites you, or scares you, but it's something that you would like to bring forward, I would love to hear that. I would love to hear a little piece of what is your vision for this new earth, and then just a sentence or two about what's drawing you here, and what might your intention be if you join us on any of these sacred journeys. So I'm going to invite you. You can unmute yourself, or you could raise your hands. Raise your digital hand. I can call on you. And just, yes, your name and where you are. And maybe I will start. I apologize. I usually always begin with this, but we're in a new space today. I'll just tell you that I'm currently on the traditional lands of the Nanaimo Nation in Nanaimo. On Vancouver Island. So that's the west coast of British Columbia. And I've shared what's brought me to this point. It's a call that I hear to come to Nova Scotia. I've never set foot in Nova Scotia at all. So the land doesn't know me, and I don't know the land, but we have opened a listening field already, and they have made me welcome. So I know that I am welcome to arrive.
I guess I'll step in and offer something into the space. So I'm Fiery Jean Gravelin. We're living here in Musquodoboit Harbor, here in Mi'kma'ki, Nova Scotia. And I'm currently most inspired by a project I've started called Life as Medicine, which is an integration of healing arts with sacred Indigenous knowledge to heal all sorts of trauma and domination. So that's what most of my energy is going to. And part of the trauma and domination is, of course, the extractivist nature of our relationship with Earth Mother. And I guess I most resonated, Danielea, when you said of my closest kinship, or my closest relatives being the relatives that I've had with Earth Mother. And so I always have said that about myself, that I grew up kissing frogs and just loving the earth beings. And so I'm still a frog kisser when I get a chance. And yeah, so I'm just excited to welcome you here, and hopefully to be able to participate with you in one or more of the adventures you're on with Tree Child, our friend Tree Child. So do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lily Ami, and I live here with Fiery, and it's good to see you, Danielea. It's been many years, really. I think 2014, maybe. Yeah. So, of course, I am also in support of this stream of Fieries, and it's really near and dear to my heart. I may have grown up kissing frogs, but I grew up in trees, climbing trees. I loved being up in trees, and so I'm very inspired, and it's with what you're doing, and yeah, I do hope that we can make it to at least one or more of the events. It'll be good to see you.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Someone else. Hi, Kimber. Shall I read it out loud, Kimber, or would you like to? Okay. My name is Kimber on the unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq in Broad Cove, Nova Scotia. I've been feeling excited about the possibilities of shifting, growing consciousness that is happening with humanity through connection with nature and changing earth energies. This change gives me hope and keeps me on my toes, practicing staying present to the beauty around me. The listening field is part of this hope and change. In gratitude, Kimber. Thank you, sister. Thank you. Someone else. How about you, Carol? Or I know you need to leave. Well, no, we still got lots of time, but I'm going to call on you anyways.
Thank you. I live close to Windsor, a piece of land, not a large piece, and a number of acres, which is part of this very old French and English settlement and with the with the original inhabitants of the land. The best part of 40 years, this little place, my ancestral home, was outside Dartmouth in Cole Harbour in a farming community. So this has been a refuge. And occasionally, right up until the pandemic, I would sally for time in England and Scotland because I resonate very much with the sacred sites there. So I guess that's really all I need to say. I just am glad to see this together, various parts of Turtle Island.
Beautiful. Thank you. I believe we caught most of it. You were, Carol, it was going in and out in kind of a weird way, but I think we got most of it.
I'm sorry. It says my internet connection is unstable. So I'm sorry.
It's true. No,
yes.
it's all good. I think we got the essence of it. Who would you say you relate to more? Water, rock, tree, all of them? Is there one in particular?
Doing a certain amount of work with rivers. I did in the spring, I helped to do a with the Schumacher Institute in England that they were doing online, and it river here, which says Avon.
Carol, if you turn your video monitor off for a little while, your sound might be better.
Good
so just
idea.
try that for us so that we can hear you. Thanks.
But good idea. Thanks, Moni. Would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Moni. I live in Mi'kmaq and in a little place called Blockhouse, just outside of Moan Bay. My journey has been, I don't know, very involved. I'm a teacher of young children at the Social Waldorf School, and so I have a great connection with kind of the elementals and some of the fairy folk, and yeah, I just it just the whole idea of the journeys were very appealing to me, especially with us moving from intense fire to intense water experiences in recent days. It would just be really good to hear what more the elementals have to say to us. And it was so good for the trees to get some water. It was not so good for my house to get so much water. But yeah, I'm so very grateful that this is happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Moni. We recently did a listening field. We opened a listening field on Canadian fires. And so this was World Unity Week back in June. And it was pretty astonishing what we received. The tree elders don't regard fire so much in the same way that we do. They really had some beautiful teachings for us to take in. And, I can share more about that if anyone's interested, or send you the messages that were received from them. But that is also, this is very much on my mind and heart, meaning, and this is why, as I said, the listening field is open, emergent, responsive, and evolving. I haven't been to Nova Scotia and already sat with all these elders and know, where the call is coming from. We're starting this journey. Tree Child has been hearing different calls. And so, of course, once I get on the land, I will be going to each of these sites and we'll be, verifying where we need to be. But I wanted to put out to you that if there are things that are happening in Nova Scotia or in the area that you would like to hear about from the nature elders perspective, please get in touch with me. I mean, I'm there for 2 weeks. Right? Our core of our ceremonies are over a 7-8 day period, but we also have days off in between. So if there are calls that you hear or the call that you have, for example, there might be some mining or there's some logging or some other extractivism or something else going on. It's a beautiful opportunity to ask them what is going on from their perspective. I did this when our Lower Mainland in Vancouver was flooding. Right. And, it wasn't rocket science. We're so vastly out of balance, is really what the problem is. So it's not about the flooding itself. It's about the conditions that are creating. Someone else, Peggy, Beth, Brenny, Ariamne, who would like to go next?
I don't know that I have anything particular to share. I live in Bridgewater, but until very recently lived on a small piece of land outside of town. And moving here, I was concerned about not being able to see trees because in our house we could see trees from every window, but in this apartment I can see trees and rocks from every window, and it's very grounding. It's very, very grounding. And I'm very curious about the listening field and the messages that the elements can bring to us, the nature elders, I should say. And I've always been very drawn to water, mostly in rivers. The rivers are a constant in my life from from when I was first born to now. I very much always relate to rivers. Not on them necessarily, but just to be by them is very healing. So that's
Beautiful.
all I can say.
Thank you, Peggy. What's your relationship with La Have River? How close do you feel with that river?
Quite close. The river was certainly one of the big things that drew us to this area when we were thinking about relocating. We've always really loved the river, and I'm still relatively close to it, even though I'm in town.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Beth?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
I'm Peggy's spouse, by the way. We're in the same apartment, but I'm at my desk and Peggy's at hers. I've always had a very special relationship with trees. Trees and where I made my home when I was a small child growing up in Cape Breton. Our yard had a lot of trees, which I was always climbing and staying up there for hours, just feeling something special that I just thought everybody felt the same way about trees, I guess. We also had a cottage built by my grandfather in Myra in Cape Breton, and there were trees all around it. One day when I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old, something drew me to this area that was treed, although there was a lot of opening between the water and these trees. And for whatever reason, I crawled under a tree and came into what was a circle of trees with a big bare patch of ground in the middle. That was beautiful grass, just lovely, lovely grass. And I just laid there and looked up at the sky and just felt like something magical was happening to me. And from then on, I went to that space every single day of the summer, from mid-June till the day before school started. I would go there and was very drawn. And it dawned on me probably about 10 years ago, when I was in my 60s, that every house that I had something to do with choosing, whether it was with someone or on my own, was chosen because of the trees. I had no idea that that's what made me choose my first home in Alberta, my second home in Alberta, first home in Nova Scotia as an adult, and the joy of finding, through no work of our own, an apartment where the view out each window is trees and rocks. You would think you were living in a tree here. You can almost touch them. And so always that relationship with trees, and of course with water, growing up on an island, the whole center of which is like an inland sea. So this adventure that we're on with the listening field is very interesting to me. Very special.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you. I can feel it's very interesting to all those trees that you know as well. And it's, we all have these bonds. We all have these bonds. And, it's really cool in the listening field too. Sometimes, when we actually open the field online, there's sort of an attunement process where I help us just open the listening in our own bodies. And then we invite, in some cases, we know what the question is going to be. And then we ask the nature elders that we know who would like to come in and answer this question for us. And, it's amazing how many times someone's childhood tree will show up and they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that tree in, 40 years. And in comes the presence of that tree or the image in the person's heart. And then they call that elder into the field and then, communicates with them and asks the question. So, I'm just really hearing such an incredible heart bond is the language I use, a heart bond that you have with trees. And, the thing about the listening field is essentially we're inviting ourselves to come into co-creative partnership with them, right? To go to the next level. Not only do we love each other, but we can consult and co-create together. Right. They are willing to share their wisdom with us and their guidance so that we can help to make this new world really new and not make the mistakes of the old. So this next level of co-creative partnership involves communicating directly with them, heart to heart. And everybody is intuitive. Everybody's telepathic. It's a muscle. Some of us have been using it for a long time. So, it's very active. We hear, we feel, we see. All right. Others of us, we haven't used it much. So it's a muscle that's a little bit weak. But that's why, if you decide to be with us for the whole journey, it's going to be an incredible journey to be in 5 different listening fields with different elders, different days, different locations, and each one is going to be different. It's really going to jumpstart your nature communication abilities. And again, it's not just about receiving the messages, it's what we do with them. And I didn't mention it, but you probably saw it on the list there that there is a harvest session that is scheduled. So it's August 31st. It's a week after I return, because I'll need time to take and curate, all the messages that have been received over the 5 ceremonies and bring them into a document. I'll make some beautiful memes, but that harvest session on August 31st is online on Zoom. It's open to anybody. And we've got a listening field community that you're welcome to be part of. And I know that they're going to be really interested to hear, what do the nature elders of Nova Scotia have to say right now to us? Right? And hearing what do they mean and how can we bring those into our community, into our work, and into our lives. So we've got 5 minutes left. And Brenny, I'd love to see you or hear from you. Ariamne also would love to hear from you. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi.
Hello.
Late. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming here and doing this. Thank you, Tree Child, for inviting her. And just listening to everyone. It's amazing. It's the depth. And as you said, co-creating. And as you were speaking about, sometimes a childhood tree pops in. It wasn't a childhood tree, but it was a tree that I'm in Nova Scotia as well, in unceded Mi'kmaq territory. And on a piece of land that I used to live at before, we called it Whispering Hill, and there was an incredible oak tree that kind of guarded the driveway, and they just popped in, and they were very much a guardian, and the chestnut tree as well. And right now I'm in a place where there's an incredible waterfall, and it's called Lance Falls. Terrible, I don't remember the name of the river, but you guys probably know. And I've been visiting it a lot lately, and as you say, like, it's very responsive, just asking questions, because I was wondering where my usual question, where am I to be, where am I to go? And I feel connected with all kinds of different lands. I'm from New Brunswick originally, and so as we're talking, there's the river and an area there that the fairies meet me, and I just appreciate, like, deepening that connection in the co-creation and what's happening. That's what the interest is and kind of reconnecting. And I also do this workshop with a friend online called Journey Around the Celtic Wheel. And it's a lot about, like, we're celebrating the seasons, but it's also really about connecting with the elements and the seasons and with nature and the sacred lands, kind of Celtic, but also wherever you're at. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You probably already noticed, whenever anybody who's heart bonded with a particular nature elder, when we speak their names, they start to come in, right? So, we've got elders that are all around us right now, right? That's one of the most common things in the listening field online. What happens is after we do the solo listening, people put in the chat, who answered the question, what did they say? And or what was your experience? And then we go to some verbal sharing, and invariably people will say, oh my gosh, the first thing they said was, thank you for inviting us in. We've been waiting, right? We all know that this is the spiritual law of the universe, is that as much as they would want to help, we have to invite them. We don't invite them, they can't just barge in. And so, they were so willing and so really waiting for us. I think, to get to this point where we trust ourselves, we trust our intuition, we trust what we hear, right? And we bring it to the table, we bring it to center with us, in the field, we take it seriously, and then we unpack this beautiful message and find what the action is and put it into action. I mean, I'll tell you that the image or the call for me for the listening field to transition from being a single event to a social enterprise is because after we completed all those listening fields last year, I was told by Spirit and the elders that it was time to bring the listening field to organizations, which is not my wheelhouse. My background is working with marginalized communities. But I now have a colleague who has 40, 50 years experience working with governments and organizations and systems change. And so, just imagine this idea of having boards of directors, each of them partnered with a nature elder. And then the wisdom of the nature elders being brought right to the table, right to the board of directors tables, and being part of the decisions that are being made and the strategies for companies. I mean, this is the reality I live in, which is where 7 billion people and every single person is heart bonded with a body of water and a tree, at least those two, if not mountain and rock. I mean, imagine how different our world would be. Imagine going to the doctor and something's wrong or something's going on, and the doctor, who's heart bonded with a nature elder, says, so have you gone to ask your tree about this? And the person's like, no, I haven't made time. I have to, take time off work and, blah, blah, blah. And the doctor's like writing on the prescription pad, visit tree elder. Consult with, I mean, for me, this is so possible. I see in like 5 years, there isn't going to be any need to open a special listening field ceremony, because we're all going to be hooked up heart to heart with those we love. And there'll be this free flow of information and wisdom going back from our hearts to their hearts. And we just naturally bring it into the human circles in which we sit. So that's a little bit of my way far out. So we're at 4:01. I know Carol had to go. Tree Child, do you have any last words before we close?
I just want to share that right as you said, the sacred web of creation, a spider literally was walking along the edge of my hat, starting to build a web connecting to my eyeglasses. I'm not sure where it wound up, but part of my connection is in this interweaving of communities, one with the other, and the bonds that we create and strengthen those sacred spirals around the globe. And a spider is crawling up the screen right now. Oh my gosh. So I'm just feeling the spider energy interconnecting, interweaving, and bringing us together in harmony with all those who are doing this sacred work. Thank you.
Hi, 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 hi. Thank you, little spider. We see you, we hear you, we feel you. We are in your web. So in closing, I just want to say, so I'm coming in 2 weeks. You all have an email. If you are resonating with what you're hearing and you know of other people in your networks or family members or friends who would be interested, please spread the word. And we have a beautiful poster that has all the information, right on it in one piece. So share that if you like. And then if you wish to register for any of those ceremonies, please do so with Tree Child. And we have you on the mailing list now, just for the journey. It's not on my mailing list, but for the journey, because as you can see, our nature relatives and elders are talking to us all the time. And so we can make these plans about where we're going to go and when. But, the rain may be talking louder than the sun might be talking. And so if there's adjustments to time or place that we need to make for the ceremonies, when you're on the list, we can keep you up to date with that. So thank you for sharing the word. And I look forward to seeing you in person if that's possible on August 10th. We'll do an intro at Teresa's house. And then we start Saturday, August the 12th. And my goodness, if you've been to Fleming Park and you see those rock elders, I mean, these aren't even some of the big ones that are behind me on the screen. I am so stoked actually to meet those glacial boulders. Whoa. They are peace. They are peace. I was so shocked. There's no words. They've never spoken to me, actually. They show me things, but they just actually get into my frequency and they make me just be still as stone. So yeah, I'm super excited to meet them and very excited to meet you. And as I said already, if there's any call that you hear and especially now that they know, we've told them that I'm coming. If there's any call you hear, please get in touch with me and or Tree Child, and we'll start to see how maybe we can answer that call while I'm there outside of whatever's scheduled already. So thank you, sisters. Yes, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Many blessings.